about biggest story right now in the NFL is definitely by far Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, getting suspended and fined $1 million for tampering. And I mean, there's a lot that goes into this, so let's hop in, dude. Buckle up because this is gonna be a rough one, man. So I'm not, even in 2019. So the Miami Dolphins, even in 2019, were trying to recruit Tom Brady, and that's, a lot of us has kind of heard this rumor going around with Miami because they've contacted Tom many times to try to recruit him over to Miami to come play there. And I mean, that also means like kicking Tua out the door too, which is another. That's like a whole nother thing I'm not going to get into. But yeah, the whole thing with Tom, it's like they've been trying to recruit Tom for a while, for the last couple of years. And then even this last offseason, they tried to get Tom over to Miami. So they've been trying to go after him and also been trying to go after Sean Payton, the former New Orleans coach. So Sean Payton has been retired, right? He retired this last season, and he right now he's saying he doesn't plan on coming back to the NFL, at least at this point. He might be taking a break or whatever, but like Miami is like, yo, like we need to get Sean Payton down here, and we need to get Tom Brady down here, and we're gonna win a Super Bowl. Like that was like their whole thing, right? And basically they contacted Sean Payton's agent multiple times in the last year or so. Like while Sean Payton was still coaching, they were contacting his agent to try to recruit him. And when he was retired, they did it again to try to recruit him. And both times they didn't have permission to do that. Like they did not have permission to go and try to talk to them and try to negotiate and do all that. Like they weren't allowed to do that, but they still did. And that's classic Miami style. Like classic Stephen Ross, the owner, is just like, I don't care about the rules. Like I'll bend the rules and I'll do whatever the hell I want. Like that's classic billionaire owner right there, dude. Like, man, it's like this guy is such a joke, dude. Honestly, like Stephen Ross, this dude is such a joke. I can't believe him, man. And like, so here's what happened. So he got suspended until October 17th. And that's like week 6 into the season. So like he's going to, I mean, honestly, that's really not going to do much, bro, because like the offseason's already over, really. You're already in training camp. The NFL season's about to start. Like you don't really need the owner there anymore. Like it's not even like a big consequence for him to be suspended. He's like, "Okay, I guess I could just go sit at home and watch the football games." Okay. Like who cares? It doesn't matter to him. And also him getting fined $1.5 million. Like, first of all, I'm even shocked that the NFL even fined him that much money, because usually the fines that we see in the NFL are like, hey man, they'll call out like a player on the field and be like, hey, your socks are not, your socks don't meet our requirements for our uniforms, so we're gonna fine you $10,000. It'll be like stupid stuff like that. And it's like, oh, come on, bro. And like they always just throw out these like little $10,000 fines, or they'll fine like a head coach for yelling and screaming at a ref on the sideline, which happens every single game basically. That happens constantly, and like, but the coaches don't care. Like, why would they care? Because it's like, oh no, I'm gonna get fined $20,000. Like, dude, these coaches are making millions of dollars. They're filthy rich. You think they care about $20,000? They could wipe their ass with $20,000. You think they care, dude? And it's the same thing with this. Even though $1.5 million, it's probably one of the biggest fines that the NFL has actually done, because they usually don't fine people like over $1 million. It's usually not like that crazy, but it's understandable for the whole tampering thing, because like the NFL is like, dude, you can't be like you. I mean, even though we all know that tampering happens all the time, but it just doesn't get exposed like this. Like, even though all these other teams do tampering, it's just they just keep it on the DL, because like they don't want nobody to find out. But we all know they do it though. Like, we all know, like, it happens. I mean, come on. But yeah, so he gets fined $1.5 million. It's dude, the guy's a billionaire. He's an NFL owner for a reason. It's because he has tons of money. He's a billionaire. You think he cares about $1.5 million? He's like, okay, yeah, here you go. Like he was gonna waste that on a freaking expensive car or a house or something. He doesn't care, dude. Like that's nothing to him. That's literally nothing to him. But here's also okay. Here's like the actual punishment part. There's a second part of this punishment that actually think it does impact the team at least. Not really Stephen Ross, but it impacts the team, Miami Dolphins, because they got taken away their 2023 first round pick, and they got taken away their 2024 third round pick. And see, now that's actually a pretty decent punishment right there for the team because even it's rough, man. Like a first round pick, losing a first round pick is really bad because that first round pick that could get you a star player, that can get you a Hall of Fame player, that could get you a lot. And it's also so valuable for trading options to trade for something because who doesn't want a first round pick? It's like everybody wants the first round pick. So I mean, unless you're the Rams. If you're the Rams, you don't care. But like most NFL teams, they care about first round pick, and they could have traded that first round pick to get a superstar player to come help them. They could have drafted a really great player, or if Tua does not play good this year, and the Miami just goes, you know what, Tua's not our quarterback. We don't like him. We gave him everything, and he's not getting us to the playoffs or whatever the reason is, and they just don't like Tua anymore. They could have used that first round pick to go draft another quarterback if they wanted to, and be like, you know what, we're gonna start fresh. Or they could have used that first round pick in a package with Tua to trade for like a Russell Wilson, or I'm just saying, for example, like trading for one of these big superstar quarterbacks, because that happens every offseason now. We've seen that. Like it's like every single offseason now. Either Tom Brady's going somewhere, or Russell's going somewhere, or Aaron Rodgers, or he might be leaving, or there's always something now where like these big quarterbacks are moving. So you never know, dude. I mean, they could have used that in a package with Tua to get a better quarterback, or like that first round pick is very valuable. And also the third round pick next year, it doesn't seem like that much, but third round picks are huge, man. Like third round picks really do mean a lot because you get a lot of your franchise players arguably in the second and third round. Like those are your guys that fill out your depth chart, or they become starters and they become longtime players for you. And like you can pay them a really good contract for like 5 years, or maybe like 4 years. But really, like that third round pick does mean a lot too. Like that punishment actually is somewhat of a pretty good cut punishment, but the whole thing about suspending and fining the owner, like, dude, come on, man. Like, that doesn't matter. It's not going to do anything. And also, okay, here's another thing about this whole story. During this whole investigation that the NFL put on trying to find out if they're tampering or whatever, the NFL investigation also said that Stephen Ross was not tanking, because that was the whole drama in the previous year where it was like, are you like there was this whole controversy that he was tanking and like purposely trying to lose so then he can draft Tua, right? That was the whole plan. Oh, that was like from like 2 years ago, right? So the NFL investigator said he was not tanking, but Stephen Ross said that he did prioritize his draft position instead of the win-loss record. That sounds really familiar to something. What does that sound like? It sounds like tampering, dude. It sounds like, or not tampering. What am I talking about here? Talking about tanking. I don't know why I said tampering again. I'm all over the place, dude. That sounds like tanking to me, dude. If you're prioritizing draft position instead of winning games, you're trying to lose games so then you can draft you can get the highest pick in the draft. That's really what that means. So it's like for the NFL to say that, to be like, well, they're not tanking, but they're also trying to prioritize draft position. Like, okay, man. Like, basically what happens is like the NFL doesn't have like hard hitting physical evidence that they were tanking. So they just kind of have to say like, well, Stephen Ross did kind of say that, it's like they kind of have to like make some workaround to really explain it, but like like come on, dude. Like I guess they just can't really come out and like punish him because there's just no hard hitting evidence. Like there's no written document, there's no like video evidence or audio, or there's not something that like exposes him in that way. And the only thing that kind of exposes him is Brian Flores, because Brian Flores has been saying this when he was coaching the Miami Dolphins. He said that Stephen Ross was behind the scenes, like telling him, "I'll pay you $100,000 every game that you lose." That was like the whole thing. And then Brian Flores refused to take that offer and said, "No, like I'm not gonna tank my own career because you want to tank to get Tua. Like, no, I'm not doing that. Like it's like I'm not gonna purposely lose games. Then that's gonna hurt me. And Brian Flores did win a bunch of games. They won like 10, 11 games that year, and like surprisingly, with all the dysfunction, he still won a bunch of games, and that just also shows how great of a coach he is. But yeah, dude, like they don't. It's just a problem because they don't have the hard evidence. Like, even though Brian Flores says this about Stephen Ross, it's not like Brian Flores has like an audio recording of Stephen Ross saying this to him in a private conversation, or a video evidence or something. Like there's no hard evidence to really condemn Stephen Ross of doing this. So like that, like it's just very slippery from the Miami organization. Very slippery. Like they're obviously like bending the rules and breaking the rules, honestly. And they're doing messed up stuff behind the scenes. And like they're, unfortunately, this is kind of like the biggest punishment that the Miami Dolphins are going to get, is taking away the draft picks, finding the owner, suspending him. But he'll be back in no time and it won't really matter. So it's like, that's kind of like all we're going to get from this punishment. And it's like, that's disappointing because like for me, for what Stephen Ross did to Brian Flores, that bothers me a lot. And I wish that he could be exposed for that. I wish that he would actually get exposed and really get punished for that. Because like if you're doing that, you shouldn't be an owner in this league. You shouldn't be able to own an NFL football team if you're telling your head coach to lose games, because you're going against the whole NFL philosophy and the whole point of the game. It's like you I don't know, it just frustrates me so much. I just wish that he would get punished for it, but I don't know, man. There's just no evidence. The evidence isn't there, so he's gonna get away with it. And of course, these billionaire owners, they get away with everything. So it's nothing new. It's nothing new in the NFL. This is how it always happens.